What knowledge might save your life one day? Don't ever stop performing CPR on a person until the EMTs take their body away. CPR doesn't wake up a person. It's to force blood to their brain to prevent brain death, so that the EMTs can revive that person. Polar bears have insane ADHD. If one is chasing you, intermittently drop clothing items like a hat or gloves. It will stop to sniff them. Normal prey animals don't shed whole pieces of themselves. The bear will be perplexed. If you call 911, always say where the problem is first, followed by the problem. If you happen to get cut off before you can say what the problem is, at least the dispatcher has a location to send an officer to check it out and advise if more police or fire is needed. Example: Operator, 911, where is your emergency? You, help, I'm being stabbed. Versus Operator, 911, where is your emergency? You, 742 Evergreen Terrace, help, I am. If someone threatens you with a gun or something, and they want to move you to another location, your chance of dying goes up considerably if you agree to relocate. My father was an assistant DA who worked with homicide. He gave me this advice over and over. Years later, someone climbed in my car and threatened me with a gun. Told me to drive. And I said no. I took the keys out and threw them. It wasn't a conscious decision. My dad had just hammered his advice. Never get taken to another location in so hard that it switched on. The guy gets out without saying a word and runs. What I did was very stupid. While you should never allow yourself to be relocated, aggravating an armed assailant rarely goes well. Throwing my keys was a very risky move. My dad also taught me to hand over valuables first. I was very lucky the guy didn't kill me. Criminals who commit reckless crimes like this are rarely rational, and many end up in jail over shooting someone over nothing. They don't always act in their own self-interests. Drugs are also often involved. I should have handed over my wallet and keys, not throw them, and then try to escape. After telling my dad what happened, he was angrier than I've ever seen him, because he's seen people get killed for dumbassery like throwing keys. Never agree to be taken to another location, and never try to agitate your attacker. Give him your wallet and keys, and refuse to go along. Firefighter training. If there is a fire, crawl out of the building. Do not stand up to run. 1 or 2 breaths of smoke are enough to do major damage and require hospitalization. If you get out at all, it may be warm where you are crawling, but standing up can cook your skin and your lungs. The smoke at eye level can be more than 600 deg point C, 1200 deg point F. If you can't see and don't know the room layout, crawl with your feet/legs in front of you, sliding on your ass. Do not crawl face first, or you may take a dive down a staircase in the confusion. If you can't do a pull-up, you probably won't have the strength to pull yourself up off a ledge. The instinct of wolves will only cause them to attack or hunt you if they can intimidate you into fleeing from them. Standing your ground against a wolf pack will be terrifying, but will eventually cause them to bugger off. Tigers as well. Don't turn your eyes away from a tiger. There is a story of a boy that had to walk backwards for 3 hours back to his village, being stalked by a tiger. The cost benefit of a prey animal even slightly hurting a tiger is not worth it. It could mean a death sentence in the wild. That water you're about to dive into might not be as deep as you think. My dad told me a story about a group of guys he knew from school. After graduation, they all went up to someone's lake house, and one guy decided to dive off the dock as soon as they got there. The water was shallow that year, and when he dove in he broke his neck and died on impact. If someone is trying to abduct you, fight back. Most abductors will just give up if they meet resistance. And whatever you do, don't let them take you to another location. This works with animals too. Always fight back and be crazier, and they often will leave you alone. A lot of animals like sharks or hawks, if you look them dead in the eye and show you are dominant, they will go away. I hike in an area with lots of hawks, and when they circle me, I just look straight at them and they fly away. If the tide suddenly goes out unexpectedly, run like you stole it, for higher ground. I read about a 10-year-old English girl who had just learned this before going on vacation with her family to Thailand. Then the big tsunami that killed a few 100,000 came. She saw the water retreat and the other tourist walk out on the exposed seafloor. She freaked out and convinced everybody to run for higher ground. A lot of people were saved by a little girl who had paid attention in school. They later brought a lot of flowers to the teacher. If you are ever bitten by a bat, raccoon, fox or skunk, go directly to the hospital. There is no cure for rabies once it is fully onset. Out of all history, only 5 people survived rabies. If you're ever charged by a moose, get behind a tree. They have about a 10-inch blind spot and they'll lose you. That's what ski patrol would always say when there was an increase in moose sightings on the mountain. They'd tell you to stay out of the trees when skiing, unless a moose is running at you. Then find trees, because unless you've got a steep hill or are already up to speed, the moose is probably faster than you think. When people say to take an aspirin to help during a heart attack, chew the pill. Don't swallow it whole. It gets absorbed much quicker. If a person asks you for something in the street, a light, the time, whatever, always keep the person in your eye line. So if they ask for the time, don't just look down at your watch. Raise your arm slightly so your watch is in sight. I was told this years ago at a self-defense thing at a corporate retreat type of event, and I wondered if it was ever going to be useful or just something to pad out the teacher's session. Then, a decade later, I was on the street late at night on my way home, and someone approached me and asked for the time. I did this, told him the time, and he just kinda stood there. Then he started asking some weird, clearly improvised, question about how he was looking for his friend's house, and he was sure it was on that street, and he had a yellow car similar to the one behind me. I didn't look back but just said yeah, yellow, and he pointed directly behind me. I said, yeah, the yellow car, I saw it as I walked by, so. He paused for a second, looking like that meme of the woman with the equations around her head, then just yelled "Oh, F you," and stormed off. It was only afterwards I realized that I think he wanted me to look away so he could slug me, but he wasn't prepared to attack someone that was looking right at him. If you've been buried alive in a standard coffin, stay calm. If you are alive, you haven't been buried that long. Also, the dirt above you hasn't set yet. Most coffins are not built to last once buried, and as a result have weak siding. So here is what you do. Pull your shirt over your head. You don't want to be swallowing dirt. Position yourself so you are as sideways in the coffin as possible with hands and feet pushing on the long sides. Push. You should be able to blow out one of the walls. Start crawling up. Do not panic. You may not find a grip immediately. Keep going until you make it out. Always leave your itinerary with someone. If you meet strangers, that is, potential bad people, on the road, always let them know that you are in touch with friends and family and that they know exactly where you are. You become less attractive as a victim. Always let strangers know that you have a destination and are expected at a particular time too. Know how to spot a stroke. An easy way to remember is the acronym FAST. Face, is one side of your face droopy? Can you fully smile? Arms, can you hold your arms out straight? Speech, are you unintentionally slurring your words? Time, call an ambulance right away. Time is of the essence. If you're unsure about the movement of a tornado, put a straight object such as a tree or a street light in between you and the tornado. It'll make it way easier to see which way the tornado is moving. If the tornado appears to not be moving, it's coming right at you. If you have to get out of a moving car, then put one foot down and take a step. Don't just jump out. This will reduce your speed immensely. Sure, you will fall over, but at a much reduced speed. A stuntman told me this. I had to leave a moving car that was going about 40 miles per hour. I was pregnant. I had a medium-sized purse and a pillow. The man driving the car had said he was going to kill us both if he couldn't have me, and was going in and out of oncoming traffic. I grabbed my bag and pillow and held the pillow across my stomach and opened the door and thought, if I go like a rag doll, except my arm holding my stomach and my other arm with my purse covered my face. But everything else I tried to relax. I stepped out and let myself fall and roll. It was amazing. I ended up with just a handful of bruises and scrapes, and I was fine. And my daughter is 14 now. We made it. If you smell something close to fish or even urine, it's possible you may have an electrical fire. Electrical fires tend to smell like fish and, when exposed to high heat, urine. Or maybe your cat had a snack and decided to pee on the carpet. And if you smell rotten eggs, it's natural gas. Get out immediately and call 911. What won't kill you in Australia? The wildlife. What will kill you in Australia? Getting lost in the outback. If you're lost and out of fuel, stay with your vehicle, move as little as possible during the day, and stay in the shade. Conserve water. Rip off wing mirrors to shine at any search planes. You can drink your urine approximate 1 to 3 times before your kidneys start to pack it in. This is absolute last resort. EMT here. If you're ever choking on food in a public venue, do not go to the restroom to avoid causing a scene. Almost every death I've seen from people choking are found unconscious in a bathroom stall because they were too polite to seek help. If you've been carjacked and the carjacker tells you to just drive, take whatever chance you get to wreck. At minimum, you're getting emergency services involved, meaning it's more likely they'll be caught, and there's a chance you'll incapacitate or even kill the carjacker. Of course, there's also a chance that you might not survive, but if they are taking you to a second location, odds are you weren't going to come back anyway. If you're alone and start choking with nobody around to give you the Heimlich, you can give yourself the Heimlich by using the back of a chair or similar objects like the sidearm of a couch or whatever. Forcefully throw your stomach over the back of the chair a few times. Try to mimic the motion of the Heimlich. Push in above the belly button, then up, kind of like a J motion. If you fall into cold open water, resist the urge to swim and try to float until the onset of panic subsides. Once you have your breathing under control, you can then start to swim to safety. By doing this, you will not hyperventilate and avoid potentially drowning. If your car is going underwater, an electronic roll down button will work regardless of the water pressure outside the car, but a manual handle is much more difficult. You also won't be able to open the door. It's better to have something in the glove box, like an ice scraper, to break the glass with. A friend who grew up in a rough neighborhood taught me this one. If you're on a bus and robbers get on, you have a chance of not having your stuff taken or being bothered at all if you pretend to be asleep. For all that it's scary for the passengers when 1 or 2 robbers with guns climb on a bus, it's also stressful AF for the robbers. They have to keep their eyes on a lot of people at once to prevent anyone from calling the police, prevent the driver from signaling distress somehow, and prevent all passengers from reacting in dangerous ways. If you're asleep, that's 1 person less for a robber to manage, so they may not bother to wake you up and have another wildcat to deal with just to get your phone and wallet. If you are in danger or in need of help in a public place, it's almost always a bad idea to just yell help. It's more important to be specific. Pointing at someone and telling them to call 911 will be more effective. The bystander effect can be real sometimes. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, hit like, get subscribed, and tell us if you know a life-saving fact or tip in the comment section, and support the original writers with upvotes. Links in the description box.